That's the Korean song. It's called 학교 종이 땡땡땡. And it basically says that the school bell is going 땡땡땡, which is onomatopoeia. Like, I don't know, ring, 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 bang, 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 whatever. 땡땡땡 is how it goes in Korean. And it says, everybody gather. And then it says, the teacher is waiting. So, yeah, basically the teacher is waiting. That's what it says. That's the song. That's the whole song right there. I just gave you the lyrics. Um, I'm actually thinking of expanding some of my content. I'm thinking of doing more videos like the Johnny Yoon video that I did, Drunk Korean American History. If you haven't seen the video, I really recommend it. I mean, I made it like 3 years ago. This is back when I was still drinking. I was drinking a lot at the time because everybody was. And yeah, I made it during the pandemic lockdown back in 2020. I made it specifically for the Asian American Heritage Month, the AAPI Heritage Month. And it's basically me drunk on soju and beer reciting the life history of comedian and TV actor, filmmaker, but mostly a comedian and an opera singer. It's basically me reciting Johnny Yoon's life from the start of his career till his death, which happened to be 2020. He died in the year 2020. It was the same year that I published an article about him. Yeah, it's really, the timing could not have been more uncanny. So, yeah, I'm thinking of doing more of those kinds of videos, but not with alcohol. I'm thinking of doing it while high on cannabis. Not on like LSD, not on mushrooms. I would do it high on cannabis. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Because, I mean, lately, I don't know, like maybe it's because the season's changing. I've just been craving alone time. So just isolating myself. And I've been craving like coffee cake. And I went to Costco, which is a dangerous place to go when you're craving anything. But I went to Costco and I saw that they're selling this like seasonal pumpkin spice muffin. So I bought a bunch of those and I've been eating them like coffee cake. I mean, a muffin is essentially a cake. I don't know why people why do they differentiate a muffin from a cake? It's the same thing. A muffin is a cake without icing. But in the case with these pumpkin spice muffins, there is like a crumble. Oh my God, my mouth is watering like crazy right now. I guess it's the season because now that it's fall, I'm feeling different. Yeah. So I I don't feel as motivated. Like I don't have as much energy. And I'm just trying to think like was this summer very productive? I don't know. I'm not sure if I could say emphatically yes. I did do a lot last week. I mean, like getting my hair done and getting my headshots taken. That's all work to me. That's a lot of work. And I guess it exhausted me. So I spent this past week kind of recovering from that, I suppose, regaining my energy. And how did I do that? I did that by stuffing my face with pumpkin spice muffins from Costco. And yeah, I mean, are my joints inflamed? Yes, they are. Do my hips and my knees, do they hurt? Yeah. Yeah, they do. Does sugar and wheat gluten make my joints inflamed? Yeah. I've learned this, like, this is a hardcore fact now. I feel it in my body because I do yoga every day. And I was like, there's a definite difference in my body this week. I was not this stiff. I was not this much in pain last week when I was not eating these muffins. All right. I also got pizza. All right. I'm not going to lie. I won't lie to you. All right. It was a Friday and I got myself a pizza. Did I get myself a slice? No, I went and got myself a pie. Why? Because if you get a slice, it's like $2 or $3. If you get a slice, it's like some number. But if you get a whole pie, it's $10. So it's just a better deal. That's why I got a pie. And I've been eating pizza and muffin all weekend and it has certainly inflamed my joints. So, hey, if you want to inflame your joints, I invite you to have some Costco muffins and pizza. Yay! What is it about? What is it about? Why am I talking about this? I guess I'm talking about this because it's been weighing on me. Whenever I eat food that I know is not agreeable with my body, I feel guilt. Who is imposing this guilt? Myself, obviously, just my own stupid head. And why am I talking about it? So that I can get over it, because it's actually not that big of a deal. You see? It's not like I'm going to be eating, pumpkin spice muffins and pizza forever. It's not like I'm going to be eating them every single day for the rest of my life. No, I'm just having like a muffin craving and a pizza craving. I guess I just need some muffins and pizza at the moment. I do feel that it's not only taking a physical toll, it's also taking a bit of a mental and emotional toll. Yeah, my anxiety is up for sure. The depression clouds are creeping in. But that happens. Anxiety and depression creep in when my diet is not optimal. Yeah. When my joints are inflamed, why wouldn't the rest of me be inflamed and uncomfortable? Of course they are. But it's just part of it. It's just part of the bigger process as a whole. We're all on this journey. It's okay. I'm going to let myself have a pizza and a muffin. I'm going to let myself do that. Did I also start rewatching the Gilmore Girls? Yeah, I did. Why? Because it's fall. Yeah. Today's the equinox. Well, I'm recording this on Sunday, so today's the equinox. And on equinox is well, is it today or was it yesterday? The equinox was this weekend, and it is the time when we transition out of out of summer and into the fall. And when we transition into the fall, I just change. My body and mind go back to certain points in my life where fall just felt like fall. I start craving more jackets. I start craving more cinnamon. I want some hot toddies. I bought myself a bunch of pears, and then they ripened like immediately. And I was like, what do I do with all these pears? So I've been looking up a bunch of pear recipes online, and all of them are just full of sugar and fat. And I can't be having that. So I just juiced them. Yeah, I'm going to be having pear juice all week, and that's all right with me. That's just fine with me. I like pears. Folks, if you have not signed up, please become a Patreon member. What's stopping you? I mean, if you're on Patreon, and if you're supporting K-Drama School, you're going to be getting more content from me. I will be discussing shows and movies that are not discussed on my K-Drama School podcast, meaning I'll be discussing shows and movies that are made in New Jersey, made in Hollywood, made in South America, made in Mexico, made wherever else. It could be English language, it could be Spanish language, it could be any language. I will be covering all different kinds of diverse media that I happen to watch that go beyond the scope of Korean television shows. So if you're interested in hearing about that, learning about that, communing with me about that, please join my Patreon. Go to patreon.com/kdramaschool and learn how you can support this podcast via Patreon, because your support matters a great deal to me. If you want to get some swag, some merch, some K-Drama School merch, you may do so. You can go to the K-Drama School store, which is at kdramaschool.com/store. And you can email me at info@kdramaschool.com if you have any questions or TV suggestions for me to cover on this podcast. Yeah, I'm open to them. I'm receptive. Yeah, I may not always do it, because if the show doesn't interest me, I'm gonna not do it. But sometimes those things align. What the person requests and what I'm interested in, they do align. So let's see what kind of magic we can make. Yes, email me, info@kdramaschool.com. Today I'll be discussing the show Miraculous Brothers, which is a JTBC K-drama that aired this summer, and it's done. It's already done, but Netflix has been, I guess, dilly-dallying, lollygagging, whatever. Netflix has not been on top of their shit. So if you're watching this show on Netflix, you're going to have to wait at least 2 more weeks until the show is over. Then you'll have the whole series at your disposal. But for now, you can watch the whole show on either Viki or Drama Cool. Just go to Drama Cool. You can watch everything for free on Drama Cool. Of course, you have to add an ad blocker. Otherwise, you have to watch like a bunch of porn like all throughout. There's a lot of porn ads. Okay, Miraculous Brothers, this is the premise. Like, what if you're a struggling writer who happens to find a complete novel manuscript in the backpack of a teenage boy you just hit with your car, and that teenage boy is in a coma, and there's no certainty that he will wake up. And you're a struggling writer. You have so much debt, and you only work part-time jobs as a delivery boy, and it's really dehumanizing and degrading. And you happen to have this manuscript, and so you decide to publish it. Yeah, you decide to publish it using your name, even though you did not write it. And let's say that you start blowing up. But what happens? This little kid that was comatose, he wakes up. Oh my gosh. And you now have a relationship with this little kid, and you feel guilty the whole time because you stole this manuscript out of his backpack. But turns out this little kid did not write the manuscript. It was his older brother who wrote it, and this older brother is now an adult, and he knows that you stole it. Oh, also this teenage boy, he came from the past. Yeah, there was like some universe glitch, and he somehow ended up in front of your car from the past. That's the premise, yeah. Okay, so like the premise of this struggling writer stealing another person's manuscript, this is not a new premise. It actually reminds me of the 2010 movie by Woody Allen called You Will Meet a Tall Dark Stranger, where Josh Brolin's character does the exact same thing. He steals his he steals his dead friend's manuscript. He thinks his friend is dead from a car accident, but later it turns out he was comatose. Yeah. And the book is published and the lies have been spread, but friend's comatose. And the friend starts waking up. And that's where the movie ends, right? But in this show, the premise is like, oh, this kid is now awake. We're still in the early part of the shows. So what's going to happen? Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I feel like Woody Allen did a better job because that ending, like the stakes of that ending, it's like, oh my God, what the drama of this, what is going to happen? It's like unbelievable. It's unfathomable. But the way that this show keeps running, it's like, even though those stakes are so high, those stakes start to deplete episode by episode because people just don't seem to care whether or not this guy stole it, you know? For a second there, it's like a little bit like, oh, what's going to happen? But no. The balloon of those stakes like shrinks down as the show continues. The writer tries to rationalize why he stole this manuscript and published it as his own. He does this throughout the series. And it's really fascinating watching him do this because, like, where is his artistic integrity? Where is his writer's dignity? It's all out the window. And he has to do so much talking and so much, like, self-psyching up to feel okay with his decision because he's just plagued by guilt, plagued by fear. I mean, he's not living a peaceful life at all. None whatsoever. This teenager Kang-san who shows up from the past, it's like, well, why? Why did he show up from the past? We need to figure this out. Okay? Let's start with Dongju, Yuk Dongju, the character Yuk Dongju. His name is modeled after a modern Korean poet named Yoon Dongju. Yoon Dongju's poems were published during the colonial era in South Korea, and they were very nationalistic in nature because Yoon Dongju happened to be an independence fighter. He was an activist, and he was against the Japanese imperial rule over over the Korean Peninsula at the time. And the colonial doctors, the Japanese colonial doctors in that era, they conducted a lot of inhumane experiments on Korean prisoners' bodies. And Yoon Dongju happened to be one of those people, and then he died in prison at the tender age of 27. Now, Yuk Dongju has a similar work of justice that is being teased out throughout this show because he needs to reveal the truth of why his father died. Okay, like his father died, it's like coincided with this little boy that he hit. Why his father died is one reason that he's trying to uncover the truth. Another reason is like, who murdered this homeless man and where's the videotape that caught footage of these young teenage kids murdering this homeless man? And how does that storyline coincide with the death of his father? And how does this coincide with him stealing this manuscript and this weirdo dude named Hanul, who knows that he stole his manuscript, and Hanul is actually the author of that manuscript. And how does it coincide with this teenage boy? So it's a very convoluted situation, but Yuk Dongju does have to uncover some truths, and he needs to bring justice to light because he's sitting on a whole lot of truths here. The way that Dongju tries to hide and rationalize his choices for stealing and publishing that manuscript is no different from how the rich kids, who are now adults, rationalize and hide their choices for having murdered and tortured this poor innocent man when they were teenagers. And then there's another criminal named Hane who is going around killing these rich people who murdered this homeless man. And he feels like his acts of murder are justified because these people committed such a heinous crime. But that is why Kang-san shows up from the past, because he has to confront Hane, right? So Kang-san is the one innocent person on this show. He's still a teenage boy, and he suffered the same abuse as Hane has when he was a kid, right? Hane and Kang-san were both abused little boys at this church where a pastor, a reverend, physically abused these young kids. But Kang-san preserves the light. He maintains the light, and he decides to just make choices that are of the light. But Hane is a little different. He's cut from a different cloth. He decides to lean into the darkness. It's like he suffered so much abuse, so much injustice, that he decides that he needs to do something about that injustice by taking it out on the world. And he thinks that he's justified in doing that because the people that he's after happen to be criminals. Okay, but that's of course questionable, right? Because how come Kang-san, who suffered the same abuse, how come he's not going around murdering people, whereas Hane is? Yeah? Dongju tries to rationalize that he had no choice but to steal this manuscript. He rationalizes that, he was stuck in a very difficult circumstance and he was in a sticky situation. He had no choice but to do this heinous thing. Just as these teenagers rationalize their decision to torture and murder an innocent man. And they continue to do that in their adulthood. They continue to forget and forgive their own choices and believe that it's okay. Hane tries to rationalize his acts of murder as justified by going after these murderers, okay? But we see that Kang-san takes no part in those kinds of choices. He's like, well, I'm just going to live my life and preserve what I consider to be valuable and hold dear. So what is the message here? It's kind of like, mind your own business. Yeah, mind your own business and tend to your own pain first. Right? Like, I think that's something people forget. I certainly forget it often, and I have to remind myself constantly. I remind myself of this daily. Like my head will fire off with all kinds of feelings of injustices, which are based from my own feelings of injustices from my past traumas. But then I wake up and then I realize there's really nothing for me to do about those so-called injustices from my past. Why? Because it's in the past. It's over. And I don't need to go around taking out that rage on other people in the present day. And there is no way to find justice, quote unquote justice, for something like that. One will never find it. The only thing that matters is tending to my own pain. Because behind that motivation to fight and be an activist and be a whatever and go and take care of business and change the world and be a hero, all of that, it's all motivated by pain and fear. Pain from the past and fear that it'll happen again. So I gotta tend to my inner pain, tend to my inner fear, and that's the only work I gotta do. It's as simple as that. And yet the world does not know this. And yet the world does not know this. The media certainly doesn't know this. Why do you think people who read the news are way more anxious? I have not read the news. I have not read the news in forever. Like over a year of no news, no TV news, no, like I unsubscribed from New York Times and all of that shit. And I swear to God, my life is so much more peaceful than it was when I was reading the news obsessively. Yeah, you don't need that. You don't need that added drama. Take care of your own drama. And I don't mean like take care of it as in like extinguish it. No, I mean look at it. Pay attention to it. Look at it. Just observe it. And if there's a part of you that needs some tending to, go and tend to that pain. That's all. That's the only thing we need to do here. I love the actor Chung-woo. Chung-woo, the guy who plays this Dongju fella. I think he's such an excellent performer. He was in Reply 1994. I would say that that's the show that's really given him like a career boost because he's been in show business at least 5 years prior to that, or possibly even 10 years prior to that. He's been around for a minute, and that show definitely put him on the map. And he's an amazingly talented actor. He's not the best looking actor, like he's not like a K-drama stud by no means, but he's such a talent. He's an excellent performer. So anytime he's in a show, I'm interested. I'm like I want to watch. I want to see this guy. He's entertaining. He's definitely an entertainer. The actor Bae Hyun-sung, the young kid, he's very interesting, very new. Yeah, I think his debut was on Hospital Playlist, even though I don't recall him being on that show. But yeah, that's his debut. He was in Hospital Playlist. And I remember him from Our Blues, of course. He was so good in Our Blues, such a range of emotions. But in Miraculous Brothers, like this poor kid's range is very limited. But I would say that that's more of a testament to the directing and possibly the writing of this show. I would not blame that on Hyun-sung specifically because he's such a young kid and he's just arrived in the K-drama scene. I mean, he's still growing as an actor. He's still learning. I think he needs more time to ripen and to really find his voice, his own way of expression. But I think he's well on his way because he was so good in Our Blues. I know that he has it. He has what it takes. But the lucky thing about this guy Hyun-sung is that he's been in a lot of hits, a lot of K-drama hits. So he's a lucky actor. He gets a lot of good shows in his filmography.